Good morning, friends. Oh my goodness. I've been dreading this all season, all summer long. I have, canned, look at all my canned stuff. I just can it and I bring it in here and I put it on a table and I just stuff it wherever it will fit. So now it's time to organize and move things around and make things fit, put everything in its place, because that's what I really like. I like things to be in their place. So this stuff that I've got on my table beside of my beans, because those are just on my dehydrator trays. Those are just drying. I'm not dehydrating them though. You never rush that. Anyway, those are what I want to put down under this big shelf. And the problem is this big shelf down here is almost full itself. I have really stocked this pantry. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take all my spices, because that's really hard to, if I look for a spice, I got to almost take everything out of there to find it. So I'm going to move my spices over to my hutch over here that's got shelves in it. And I'll show that to you. See this one right here? We are going to put them into there. I might have to move my two choppers from the bottom, but that is what I'm going to do. So we're going to get that going. And it fits pretty good. And I don't think it's going to be too heavy, but I want these bigger jars. I'm going to sort through this too, because some of these I really don't need. That I use quite frequently. And this is the kale. I don't use that too often, but I do use it. My mother does. That I'm not going to use. Let's set that aside. Okay, and my sweet basil I use. Oh, my finger's stuck. Okay, so that will shut with those up there. All right, so let's see. I'm going to start with the smaller jars. Yeah. These are whole cloves, so I'm going to combine them into one because I got two containers of it. So I'm going to put those all in one. That'll be perfect. I've got two big jars of that. Alright, paprika. I don't think I need to buy that for a while. Okay, I got one for my marjoram, and I also got one for my mustard seeds. All right, there's the marjoram, and that's gonna go, let's see, that, and my mustard seeds. Okay, so we got that. Can go there, and that will fit up there nicely. Okay, let me fix this just a little bit here. That way it's somewhat organized to the size of the jars, and all looks well. That can go there. Those few can go there. Perfect, and I didn't have to move the bottom. The two things on the bottom and this flip cap lid's kind of neat up there, but anyway, all right, see it? Looks good. That's the way it's gonna stay. All right, so let me put this all back out here in the kitchen. I'm gonna be able to put my excess down here too. My syrup can go over there. So I've got my corned beef hash. This is crazy. I do so much canning. This stuff won't last long anyway. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 jars of that. And then I've got 4 jars of my pork stew that I can, my leftovers. We're going to put that over there because I still got more tomatoes to can. So I'm going to need as much of this room as I can. And then, of course, you know, when it comes time to doing soups and stuff, chilies. I want to do chili this year. And I got a lot of tomatoes. I got a lot of tomatoes out of my garden. I was just absolutely impressed. And this is the tomato basil soup. This stuff is fantastic. This is tomato juice. 4 beautiful jars of tomato juice I got. And this, what I got right in my hand, is my tomato basil soup. And we use a lot. My family eats a lot of tomato soup. Okay, so those are nice down there. That looks pretty good for right now. And let me see what I got here. That's tomato soup, so I can put that up here with the tomato basil soup. And that's tomato soup down there. That's tomato soup. I got a lot of tomato soup, but they eat a lot of tomato soup. Okay, so that's good. Now I've got that much extra space. You see it, this entire side. And then my spices look good where I moved them, because that was just horrible trying to, you know, get down on your hands and knees, and you got to pull everything out of there to find the spice you need. Now, looking at this down here, this is nice because I can just look and I can see, you know, even if I use a little flashlight, I can see all the way to the back of that. So that's going to be perfect. Anyway, so with that being said, I got a couple things up here that I need to organize. That is my lemon verbena. Boy, that's been sitting there for almost a year. That's good and stout. I use that for cleaning. And this is my beef bouillon, my chicken bouillon, some more chicken bouillon, and these two got to go out in my kitchen. I really don't need to wipe anything down today or per se clean anything. I just needed to organize and get things put in their place. Because I'm telling you, when I was canning and harvesting and preserving stuff, I just bring it in here and just set it anywhere. Just like when I picked my butternut squash, I just brought them in here and set them anywhere. So that, we can't be doing that. I don't like that. Alright, so that will definitely need to be wiped down. Okay, now I have got these old vintage, let's see, where am I going to set these for right now? Let's set these in my fruit dish. Isn't that funny? Good place for them. In the fruit bowl. Okay. I found these at a yard sale. And these are nice. But you know, these are the vintage one. So they probably are not BPA free. So I don't want to store my food that I eat in them. But I can definitely use this one right here, this big one, and store my Epsom salt in it. Because I do have a lot of that. So I'm just going to dump that right in there. And that will be next year for my garden, because that's what I use that in, is my garden. Or bath salts. You know, I use it for, there's different things I use Epsom salt for. But it's going to go into here. And I don't need to label this because you can look in there and see just exactly what it is. Okay, so that's good. Now, I'm going to set that over here on my floor. I guess maybe I better vacuum in here. I got little cobwebs. Okay, so that's good. Now I got this over here that I got to take care of. This, it's not going in there. That's my dill seed. I got a little container for that. I got a nice container. These, I just let dry. These are beautiful. I just put them on that paper plate, laid them out flat, and let them dry. Perfect. I use a lot of that for my potato salads and cold salads. So that can go down there too. Perfect. Okay, now I've got my sugar up here. And I'm going to put that in this container because that's where I store my sugar. Hard, but it's not. Okay, that's good. I'm out of the way. Over here. I love putzing around in my pantry. This is just about my favoriteest thing to do. But this one, I've been so busy lately, it's like, oh Lord, I gotta get this done. But once I get in here, it's like, oh, this is fun. So, this whole bag will fit in here. Alright. That's my flour container. I gotta pull this down a little ways so I have it back in there. Okay, so that's good for now. This can set up there. There's nothing in there right now. I've got, let's see, this little guy I'm going to put in my closet because I don't use them enough. At least right now I don't. So maybe I'll just set them up here. Because I do use them, but not as much. Oh my goodness, now I got all this down here to sort through, which isn't much. This is okay. There's a lot of extra noodles down here. And I got extra noodles up there. Cereals. That's all my extras right there. This Serto can go back there because sure gel back there. Okay, these are crackers. And they can probably stay there. Some of the noodles. Put the crackers up there. And I'll put those little few noodles right there. And then I got blueberry and peach. I've got Nutella. That's a lot of baking stuff under there. And I'll set my cookies right there. And my tea can go right there. So that's good for that. Oh, I forgot these. These can set right up there. Down there on the floor, I've got my dry beans and stuff, and my powdered milk is right there. And then in that one, I've got that right there. I've got utensils, extra utensils. I got all my canned goods. I try and store down here, my store-bought canned goods, like my soups and stuff. And I tend to go through that rather fast. But I like to keep that stored nice down there. And my tuna fish. And my sardines. I love sardines. Okay, down here everything looks good. I've got all my beans down here and they are vacuum sealed. So everything looks good down there. Everything's organized and basically put where it belongs. So, okay, so up over here on this top shelf up here, I keep all my dehydrated and dried items. And most of these I dried myself, like my peppers and my green beans and this vegetable stew blend that I've got that's dehydrated or freeze-dried, I believe it is. That came from my friend Angie from Angie's Pantry. Bless her heart, she's a sweet pea. Anyway, so I got my gravy mixes, my peas, celery, you know, all of my vegetables, my rice, my cheddar powder, my potato flakes, beans, all kinds of stuff. And down here I've got soups and green beans and sauerkraut and tomatoes, and all my jams and jellies are down there. Down there is all tomatoes, you can see, and potatoes from my garden. I harvested like 75 pounds of potatoes out of my garden this year. And I did give some fresh to my family. We used some fresh. But ultimately, I think I canned about 35 quarts of them. So I've got potatoes all down in there. And then I got my meats and more fruit. My pineapple and my citrus fruit is down on that shelf down there. Let me back up here. That shelf there is my meat, my garbanzo beans, and, you know, more potatoes. Beans and potatoes, broth on the very bottom, and this down here on this part, right down in here, is my baked beans, beets, and more tomato sauce. So that was my garlic Roma tomato sauce I did. That stuff was beautiful. So I got all kinds of stuff down there, broth and carrots, and then soups down here with some more green beans. I used so many of them. I got so many green beans this year, it was crazy. So on this side, I've got my dehydrated potatoes, and many of you have asked me if I do my own potatoes. No, I buy these right here. I buy them in a 25-pound bag, which is a huge bag, and it will last me about 3 years, that big bag of dried potatoes, and I pay maybe 50, 60 bucks for it, I think. So it's really worth it. And I got all my noodles up in here in my Tupperware containers. And I've got, you know, more dried fruits down in here. And that's where I store my flour. And of course my potatoes, my husband loves. Somebody asked me on one of my chit chats what those bags of Idaho potatoes were for. My husband loves them, absolutely. I send those with him in the truck because all he's got to do is heat up some water and bang, he's got some nice hot mashed potatoes. So he gets those too. Down there I already showed you is my beans, my dried milk, and some more utensils. And I've got, let's see, over here I've got, oh, my grandbaby's cookie jar, which I always got to keep half full to full. I've got Tupperware containers. Now those are old Tupperware containers, and I'm sure they're not BPA free. But I've got a few things stored in here, and I got it stored in packages. You know, or I keep my rice in here. And I may keep my rice in there because I go through it so much that it doesn't stay in there, you know, long term for any of those chemicals to leach into it. So as long as I'm doing it for short term, I'll use them. I feel safe enough for that. I think it's something that would have to be sitting in it for years in order for those chemicals to leach into that food. Quite sure. Anyway, that's just a little storage bin I've got. Down here I've got, oh, some boxed goods and canned pie filling, baking supplies, cereal, and of course what kids don't love, ramen noodles. Isn't that a riot? Ramen noodles. I think ramen noodles are in just about every pantry. More noodles and coffee. And then up here I've got my little wine rack. Well, of course I don't drink alcohol. I can't have alcohol, but this stuff is nice. For those of you out there who don't drink alcohol or can't have it but like wine, I'm allergic to alcohol. I get the free, and I love the white Zinfandel, and it's got all the wonderful flavor of wine but not the punch. So that's what I get, and I usually get that for Christmas. So I save that for special occasions. Anyway, that little wine rack I got, I put my rolling pins up in there. Good storage for them. And I got my my big industrial vacuum sealer back there. And I don't normally keep my dehydrator in here, but because lately I've been using them so much, I just leave it set in here. Under there I've got water that's canned up. Those are my dummy jars. Anyway, I got some, you know, pots and pans and little odds and ends and my big bottle of oil. And down here is mostly I call it my overflow for my canning supplies. Or my canning jars. That's my overflow. And of course I got cereal over there because my grandbabies love cereal. And I got room to spare, so I got more canning to do. Okay? It's looking good in here. I'm getting it stocked, friends. And over here, you'll have a better look now. See, I've got all my spices on the top shelf, and then more spices on the bottom shelf. They're easy to get to. Then I got my chopper and my French fry maker down there. But everything's easy to get to. And then in my two drawers down here, I always keep my dish rags, my dishcloths, and my hand towels, and oops. Okay, down in this drawer down here, I keep my dish towels and my hand towels, my washcloths for my kitchen, and this is just a overflow. I've got doilies and stuff down there, linens. So, anyway, that all looks good. Everything looks good. And then those are going to my mom. I grew these out in the garden. I harvested these, and these are going to go, my mother wants these. She loves them. So, I'm not even going to show you my closet, because that is just a nightmare. I've got to really sort through that because I've got a lot of stuff down in there. And then over here, of course, you see my little bucket that I always keep there. But down in my little bin here, this cute little bin, it's full of my rings. I have lots of them. I have absolutely tons of them. I have tons of jars too, but I keep those in my basement. But my lids and rings and everything else is up here. So that's it, friends. That's a nice little pantry update. I've got, you know, everything organized. I just got to go through and wipe stuff down a little bit and do some tight vacuuming, and it's pretty much done. And these are going to stay here until they're completely dry. And that might be about a month or so. But they do dry out, and they've been shrinking up pretty good. Aren't these beans gorgeous? These were from my, oh my goodness, it's on the tip of my tongue. Well, I'll think of it. I'll think of it in a minute. These are my Hadista Shield figure beans. And these, I thought of it. They're my Scarlet Runner beans, which you can eat them. You can use them as shelling beans, and you can eat them. They're beautiful, meaty bean. So, I got 3 trays of those. So those just stay there. And I put them on here so that the air flows through. So they'll get good and dry. So anyway, friends, that's it. That's my pantry. I have a ball in here. I do my chit-chats in here. This is indeed my favorite room in the house. I love this room. So, you got an update. And you guys have a good day. And thanks for hanging out with me.